Correct. That's correct.
Big problems become big problems. Let small problems sit.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
It's been a long time since I shaved with a normal razor.
Like a fool. Get out of this room. We're going down in the most peculiar way. We're going down in the most peculiar way. I'm not a perfect person. Act like a fool.
Correct.
Get out of this room.
Correct. Correct.
I don't care what they say, it's not like you. I don't care what they say, I'm not like you. Don't act like a fool. Get out of this room.
Correct.
Shout out to the Curls. Awesome band. Name of that song? Like a Fool. What'd you think of that song, Ben?
Love the curls. Mick Fansler, love the curls, man. Go check out that interview. Mick's a little to the left of me, if such a thing is possible.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little. Just a touch. Okay? Not that much, Mick. Don't get cocky, all right? But, yeah, he's out there.
Well, if you're in a band or you know someone who makes music, be like the Curls. Send your music our way. Don't sue us. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah. No cease and desist. Although, that'll be a theme of today's show, young man. That's called what? Foreshadowing.
Ooh. BennyJShow@gmail.com. BennyJShow@gmail.com. Send your music our way. All right, everybody. Your Ben Joravsky Show for Tuesday, March 10th is just moments away. But before we get into that, we got to thank the following unions, like we always do, for sponsoring this program. Unions like the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace, not Aerosmith Workers, Local 126 and District 8. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9 are sponsors, as well as the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Couldn't do it without you, unions. Thank you so much. And, of course, today's Ben Joravsky Show for Tuesday, March 10th is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, we need a song of the day.
I got one for you. Thematically, it works, too.
Ooh.
More foreshadowing.
Holy cow.
This is a song.
Did you smoke pot before the show? You're doing a lot of foreshadowing here.
Man, I smoked so much.
Okay. No, he didn't.
Man, Dr. D and I were back in the alley. Oh, yeah. No, none of that ever happened. All right. This one is from the 70s. Where else? Okay. On the cover of the Rolling Stone, gonna get 5 copies for my mother.
Awesome. All right, everybody. The Ben Joravsky Show. Wait, I got to find our new music.
Uh-oh, here comes the cease and desist letter.
That'd be so funny if that were actually the reason why. The singing is just too good. All right, the Ben Joravsky Show starts now. Stop laughing. We got to do our intro. It is Tuesday, March 10th, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, our Chicago Reader colleague Maya Dukmasova will join us, and we have candidates on the show today. 9th District State Rep candidate Lakeisha Collins and 49th District State Senate candidate Michael Crowner. And now your host, he's no BS, Chicago Reader colleague or columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Billy Gate Tuesday. And here's why. Great weekend. Do you have a good weekend, D?
Yeah.
You had a
Had
good
a
week?
great weekend.
But it was a couple days ago, huh?
Yes,
Okay.
it was.
Anyway, I just want to let everybody know, I just was telling Romana this. I saw her in the hallway. I saw The Way Back. That's the Ben Affleck movie. If you're into basketball, run, don't walk. In fact, if you're into recovering alcoholism, run, don't walk. Because it's really, I thought it was going to be like a basketball movie. And yes, basketball's in it, and I love basketball, but it's also about a recovering alcoholic. So anyway, great flick, saw that. This was also the weekend, D, that I had my brush with fame. Woo! I was famous, almost, sort of. All right, let me back up and tell you. So it started Saturday. Woke up bright and early. Ooh, what was that? I woke up bright and early. Took out my beloved Bright One, home delivered as always, Chicago Sun-Times. And there I was on the front page of my beloved Bright One.
Your face?
Yeah, no. Let's not get carried away now, all right? There was a headline. There was a headline on the Sun-Times about Kim Fox using the word bull beep. I'm not allowed to say it. Bull beep. Because, you know, we don't swear in this show, right, D?
Well, actually, I don't know. I was sitting there thinking about it since it's going on. I say we can allow it. I allow.
Wow. Okay.
I have carte blanche. To say
I don't know what to say. Bull beep. But it's a barnyard appetite. Bull beep. You can probably figure it out. She said it on the show last week. We were talking about Smollett Gate.
Yeah, I got a feeling we're going to be talking about this a lot. So just you could go ahead and say it. That's
All right.
fine.
Well, anyway, so Kim Fox said that essentially our year or so obsession with Smollett Gate, all things Jussie Smollett, was bullshit, which I completely agree with her. At the same time, I'm utterly obsessed with it and can't stop talking about it. So this is like a cry for self-help, Kim. Yes, I need help and assistance on this. By the way, where's Andy Graham? I want to bring him back in the studio to talk more about it. Anyway, so yes, we are utterly obsessed with it. And it is bullshit. And it is, what is it, a made-up issue that Kim Fox's enemies have used to torpedo her campaign and undercut her efforts to bring real criminal justice reform. And I don't know, and I just want to point out once again that many of these same enemies to Kim Fox love Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is supposed to believe in criminal justice reform. That's why he let Rod Blagojevich out of prison. Just saying all this, folks. All right? This world is very bizarre and filled with contradictions. Maybe that Donald Trump doesn't believe in criminal justice reform as much as he says he does. But anyway, anytime, by the way, wouldn't that be interesting if Donald John Trump, in the name of criminal justice reform, endorsed Kim Fox? Whoa, that's a little hard to believe. Anyway, so I do believe it's BS the way the folks are trying to undercut Kim Fox by turning Smollett Gate into this horrific scandal when in fact it's an amusing and diverting comedy of errors that features one of the more colorful characters, Jussie Smollett, and Dave Chappelle has turned it into a hilarious routine, which I urge everybody to see. Anyway, Kim Fox was on the show. She said it was bullshit. She said the word bullshit. When she was done saying it, she said, "Can I swear?" And I go, "It's a podcast. Everybody swears." And on this podcast, except for me. Dennis won't let me swear. He also won't let me talk about sports. So I can't say how happy I am, for instance, that Kobe White will be starting for my beloved.
That's enough.
Oh, sorry. But Kobe White will be starting tonight. Finally! Good God, Bulls. You got this fine,
Ooh,
outstanding
hang
guard.
tight, non-sports fans.
All right, anyway, I'll leave Kobe White talk to the side. So that was on the front page of the Sun-Times. I was so happy. I was in my pajamas running around the house singing Cover the Rolling Stone. Here we go. Thus, going back to the song I was singing before,
All right.
okay? Cover the Rolling Stone was a big hit in the early 70s, as Dennis can tell you, by Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, written by Chicago's own Shel Silverstein, the pride and joy of Albany Park. Yes, indeed, as Dennis knows, he graduated from Roosevelt High School, and he's one of the finest poets, songwriters who ever came out of the city of Chicago. Anybody who dares to disagree with me, bring it here. We'll discuss it. I love Shel Silverstein, and I love that song. And it's about the rock group that makes the cover of the Rolling Stone, and that's how I felt. I was on the front page of my beloved Bright One. I was so excited about it. I wrote a reader column about this. Yeah, I wrote a whole reader column about it. And I was up really late writing this reader column. It was like 5 in the morning on Monday. All right? Then I was pretending it's a typewriter.
We get it.
And I wrote it, and I said, I wrote this column. I'm going to go to bed. And I'll wake up and do a little fine-tuning and send it on in. So I went back to bed about 6 in the morning, slept to 10:30, I want to say it was, and all of a sudden, I hear my phone blowing up. That's the phone blowing up. And it was Dr. D, Dennis. He was up. Let me tell you something about Dennis, man. He's from Alton, okay? He gets up at like 4 in the morning and chops wood. I'm a lumberjack, yes I am. So that was Dennis, and then well, anyway, he got up so early, chopping that wood,
Yeah.
he discovered that Bill Conway, who's running for state attorney against Kim Fox, had taken that interview, that little excerpt where Kim Fox had said bullshit, and made a whole commercial out of it.
Well, the one day I overslept actually was yesterday, and Pat Whalen.
Pat Whalen,
he
you give him
texted me
credit?
and was like, "Holy crap, dude! Did you see this ad?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Pat Whalen from Buffalo, New York, is known to get up at 3 in the morning and go ice fishing, because that's what they do in Buffalo. I'm ice fishing. Here I am in the fishing. Anyway, everybody's up earlier than me. But one thing's for sure, you overslept, but it wasn't 10:30. I was like, oh, yeah, this is so nice. Well, the old boy put it in a commercial, so guess what? I hate when this happens, folks. I had to take that column, whoosh, rip it in half, whoosh, write a whole new one. There I am in my pajamas all over. I mean, when I get like that, don't bother me. Dennis calls me up. I go, don't bother me. Okay, sorry, man. My wife's bringing me coffee. Don't bother me. Creativity here. Anyway, I finished the story. A couple fun. I know we'll be talking about this commercial that young Bill Conway ran, but my biggest concern is that somehow or other, people might, I don't know, leap to the conclusion, which is, I don't know why they would leap to the conclusion, but I can't help where the conclusions that people leap to, that I am like voting for Bill Conway because he used a bit of our show in his commercial. Can I just say this, D? Negatory. No way. All right? In fact, I just want to urge everybody to turn to today's Tribune, home delivered, Chicago Tribune. Brothers and sisters in the same union I'm in. Right on, Chicago Tribune.
Hoorah.
Editorial employees. Great article by David Heitzman and Dan Hinkle on the front page of the Chicago Tribune. It says, billionaire dad bankrolls Cook state's attorney bid. Yeah, Bill Conway, the young man who's running for state's attorney and aired that commercial like he was shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that she swore. I'm outraged. Daddy Conway is actually, you probably know this, a gazillionaire. He's one of the co-founders of the Carlyle Group. And here we go, a defense contractor with stakes in the military-industrial complex. Quote, while the defense contracts have gotten attention in the race, this is the Tribune story, another investment with broad implications has gone unnoticed. For a decade, Carlyle owned the for-profit nursing home chain HCR Manor Care as it racked up allegations that it neglected elderly patients, committed Medicare fraud, and ultimately drove the company into bankruptcy. One more time. Racked up allegations that it neglected elderly patients, committed Medicare fraud, and ultimately drove the company into bankruptcy. We should call it Carlyle Gate. Let me just tell you this right now, folks. Bill Conway is running a campaign attempting to undercut the criminal justice reforms positioned by Kim Fox, and that campaign is financed by his daddy. All right? That commercial that took that little excerpt of Kim Fox swearing on this show and acted like it was outrage. They were outraged by it. Was financed by Carlisle, in part by the daddy. Let me ask you this, in your humble opinion, what's worse? Kim Fox saying the word bullshit, or Carlisle-owned for-profit nursing home racking up allegations that it neglected elderly patients, committed Medicare fraud, and ultimately drove the company into bankruptcy? People who live in glass houses should not throw stones. We got a great show today, everybody. Yes, indeed. Okay, Maya will be, I know Maya's going to be all over this. She's actually really into the coronavirus. She wants to talk about that today. And Lakeisha Collins will be here. She's running for state rep in the west side of Chicago. Michael Croner running for state senator in the burbs. He'll be in here. I think Murray Briel might be coming in, dropping in. One half of the Heartland Mamas. So it'll be like a Heartland Mama will be here.
All right.
It's always fun when the Heartland Mamas are in town.
All right. Don't call it the outer.
Don't call it the boonies.
Don't say the
I
boonies.
get in trouble when I do that. I'm always in trouble. Anyway, so plenty of political talk ahead. Before we do that, the young man from Alton, and it's not the boonies, the man they call the doctor, with the news.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Dennis. Yes, our show made the local headlines over the weekend. Eat your heart out, Sneed. We finally got a scoop. And of course, in perfect Ben Joravsky show fashion, it's for something ridiculous.
Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
You hear that?
That reverb. Oh, yeah.
Sweet sound effects. We'll play that entire ad in moments. But first, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
I'm not a perfect person.
Governor, you're doing God's work this week, good sir. Today, J.B. Pritzker was of course, at the Thompson Center. He held a daily press briefing on the coronavirus. And on Monday, Pritzker announced that the state of Illinois tally of coronavirus patients had reached 11, with 4 new cases identified in Chicago. He then issued a disaster proclamation. The declaration, Illinois' version of a state emergency, was needed to open up access to additional federal funding that would help the state in this coronavirus response. Pritzker said, quote, "We don't need it now, but we may need it in the future because we can see from the other states, from the other countries, what's coming. There's going to be an increase in cases."
Yeah, I bumped into young Tom Schuba in the hallway of the Sun-Times. Part of the reason why I was may have been a little late to the studio, but I got a little trouble with Dennis for that one. But so he, on top of writing about reefer, he's sort of covering the coronavirus outbreak. And so we were talking about this because this is what I really wanted to say. Babs, our one of our smarter listeners. Well, all my listeners are smart. I shouldn't say one.
I have Babs' question right here.
Yeah. Oh, did I jump ahead of things here?
Kind of did.
Oh,
Show up a little earlier. We can go over what we're talking about.
I was talking
you know
to
what I mean?
Tommy. I was talking to, like we ever, by the way, I could get here at 11 and we won't be talking about, oh, D, Kobe White is starting tonight. Anyway.
Yes, on to our Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. I'm going to read the
Okay,
question
let's
here.
go to
We
Ken.
recently received a comment and a question from our dear friend on Facebook, Bab, or as I call him, Babbers. Apologies if you're not a fan of that nickname, but hey, I get called White Lightning literally every day, so deal with it. Babbers posted on our Facebook page. We're not talking about it, but Chicago could be the first city to fall. 4 conventions in Chicago have been canceled due to concerns over the coronavirus. The big one this month, Houseware, which has 60,000 attendees, will translate to $115 million in lost revenue to the hospitality industry, hotels, restaurants, and taxi. I would estimate that including the other 3 will push that number up to or beyond $150 million this spring alone, with many more conventions on the calendar. Needless to say, Chicago is going to get clobbered. Ben, are you satisfied with Mayor Lightfoot's response? And as far as responses, I went online and looked. I found 2 articles, one from the Sun-Times and Fran the Woman Spielman on February 26th. The story reads, Mayor Lori Lightfoot said Wednesday she's, quote, very disappointed in the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention for fanning the flames of fear about the spread of the coronavirus in the United States. And I also have an NBC5 Chicago story from March 6th that reads, earlier this week, just one day after NBC5 started asking questions about why the city had not communicated with employees about coronavirus precautions, Mayor Lori Lightfoot sent a citywide letter to every employee with guidelines on workplace safety and what to do if they felt ill.
Yeah, when I read Bab's comment on my Facebook wall, I have to admit it was like the first time I thought about this as a local matter. I've been thinking this about as an international issue or a federal issue, and most disappointed with the response from our federal government and this lunatic we have as a president. But I do recall that first article. I'm glad you brought that up, Dee. That first article, we may have talked about it. It seemed like in that first article that Lori Lightfoot was heading into Jaws country. And since everything in my life is related to something from the 70s, let me explain. In the movie Jaws, one of the great movies of the 70s, there's a shark that's attacking the good people outside. I forget where it is, Martha's Vineyard, somewhere on the coast of Massachusetts. And the town leaders don't want to publicize it because they're really concerned what impact it'll have on tourist trade. People won't come to the town. They won't use the beaches. They're so afraid of the shark. So let's cover it up so that we don't hurt business. It could really hurt business. And that was satire to a degree, but I think Lori was kind of swimming in the shark waters, swimming in the Jaws waters a little bit at the outset, more worried about what the impact would be on things like conventions, etc. That said, that's why I was asking young Tommy about it in the hallway. What do you think? And everybody I ask, see what Maya says, generally goes right back to the feds or to the international situation as though, because Lori Lightfoot's relatively down the food chain. So perhaps I'm having a hard time really being angry and upset at Lori Lightfoot of the city of Chicago on this particular issue. Now, if you want to talk to me about a TIF deal, let's say, that's a whole other thing. But on this particular issue, more of my concern is how the government as a whole, the federal government as a whole, has dropped the ball on this. And this is like just the way Donald Trump goes about business, where he just is always thinking about himself and his political skin, and just you don't know whether to believe what he has to say. I think has really hurt us on trying to get information out, keeping people from panicking at the same time, keeping people to be responsible. So that's my general thought. I'm going to be talking about this with Maya. I'll be talking about this throughout the day. I am not certain that I can blame Lori Lightfoot for anything that had to do with coronavirus. I mean, they're canceling these conventions. It's costing Chicago money. It's hurting the economy. I don't know how we can blame Lori Lightfoot for that.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
No.
All right, and finally, grown adults, cover your ears. Yes, a strong, sophisticated black woman came on the Ben Joravsky Show, defended herself, and gave her opinion. On Thursday, when speaking with Ben Joravsky about her re-election campaign, which, by the way, Benny J, may have been your best interview yet, buddy.
Well, I'd like to.
Just saying, pretty good.
The Scotty Duff one was fun, too.
If you've yet to hear it, go download it right now. Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox called Chicago's year-long national headline grabber Smollett Gate bullshit. Yes, listeners, I'm saying it too.
Wow. I've never heard Dennis swear before.
Well, I did it. But it's not the case itself that she called out. If you listen to the interview, what she was referring to was the fact that this case, Smollett Gate, which she admitted she mishandled, where literally the one time a famous TV actor, for some reason, faked a hate crime in our city at 2 a.m. No one actually hurt or killed. No shoplifting involved either. Yes, this stupid case has completely overshadowed her records of actual inner city work with everyday people, non-TV actors, as a state's attorney. Which, by the way, if you couldn't tell, I agree with Ben. It's bullshit.
Well said, young man. You're on a roll.
But hey, who cares about the meaning behind words? And yeah, she said what most of us are thinking, but that lady cursed. And that's bad.
I was horrified.
And here we are 4 days later. The Sun-Times Free and Spielman wrote an article about it. We made the Saturday front page, and surprise, surprise, Kim Fox's interview on the Ben Joravsky Show is the subject of her opponent's latest attack ad. Hey, thanks for the plug, Cook County State's Attorney's candidate Bill Conway. Seriously, it's the most anyone outside of myself, Ben Joravsky, and our good friend Pat Whalen has done to promote our show. We will take it. So I have the ad here. Without further ado, if you haven't heard it yet, let's listen to the ad. If you're listening on the live stream, please feel free to weigh
Cover
in.
your ears.
Yes, I know we're all grown adults here, and we say these words, all the time. But here we go.
the reputation of the city of Chicago wasn't marred by Jussie Smollett. This issue with Smollett is bullshit.
A special prosecutor has now been assigned.
Kim Fox finds herself in the full-blown investigation.
Smollett receives special treatment.
This issue with Smollett is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
Sweet effects.
What is that? I'm not seeing the commercials, but that little clicking sound, someone typing something? Oh, is that like the reporter typing?
Nothing gets past you.
Bill the Bro, Conway. Listen, it is bullshit. Now, I say this, as I acknowledge already in the show, and I acknowledge in the column that's coming out, I'm as addicted to the Smollett Gate scandal as anyone else. Talked about it a lot. We'll talk about it further. It's like a circus. By the way, we got to call Andy Grimm and bring him back in here and do another deep dive because that guy knows more about Smollett Gate than anyone. But that said, it's bullshit. It's a diversion. It's like entertainment. It's like, as I said in the column, will Ben Affleck get back together with Jennifer Garner? That's the kind of level it's on, all right? So let's not pretend there's some great issue there. Let's not pretend like it has to deal, it's like really matters to any of us on a regular day. It's like me talking to Miles about Kobe White or Tim Anderson or any sports stuff. It's diversion. It's fluff. And this pretense that somehow or other there's this great overriding, overwhelming issue that faces us and affects our lives is bullshit. So she was right. It is bullshit. So, but oh boy, Billy Conway, it's like, I could just imagine, hey boss, you won't believe it. She said bullshit. And D, oh my God. She swore?
Really?
Oh, this is like a woman swearing? That's the other thing. That's bullshit. The double standards. Donald Trump swears all the time. He swears in front of his crowds, drops the F-bomb. I don't see everybody crying. When's Billy Conway going to do a commercial about that? When's the Carlyle Group going to finance a commercial about that? Don't forget, people, that commercial was paid for with money that the Carlyle Group made selling bombs and guns and stuff. Why isn't Billy Conway outraged about that? You know that they put that out there not because anybody would think, oh God, how could she underestimate the importance of Smollett Gate in my life? Because it just really matters. Every day I'm worrying about Smollett Gate. No. They're hoping that somebody will say, oh my God, this is really inappropriate language. I can't vote for her. Which, by the way, we talk about this all the time, the double standards that women face when they're candidates, and contrast to men. We've been talking about this for a long time. Just like they have to hold back. Donald Trump, oh, it's okay if he swears. Rahm Emanuel, that's old Rahm. He swears all the time, but that's what makes him cute. But Kim Fox says bullshit. We're outraged. We're going to do a whole commercial on it and repeat it over and over and over again. Like Billy Conway doesn't say that every day.
It's just so funny. Like if you didn't actually listen to the interview and you don't know much about the show, people think you're like the Howard Stern of Chicago or something.
Well, that's the other point. I dealt with this in the column I wrote. There's something about this humble little room, and I don't know what it is. People come in here and they stop dropping F-bombs. The champion, Adolfo Mondragon, El Dragon, the over-under on him dropping the F-bomb is about 1 minute. Yep, 1 minute, there it goes. Mother this and mother that. But, it's just like, I don't know, it's a podcast. You ever heard Joe Rogan? How many times they dropped the F-bomb on Joe Rogan? #1 podcast in America, D. 20 million and counting, huh? So, I mean, what do you expect? It's a podcast.
Right.
God damn.
We didn't corner her. We didn't, needle her or anything. She was just comfortable in our
humble little
studio here.
Just down the hall from the bathroom. I think it's the connection to the bathroom that just makes people, he said bathroom. Ooh. Anyway, but how about Scotty Duff? When he came on the show, by the way, thank you very much for the nice things you said about the interview with Kim Fox, but I thought the Scotty Duff interview was pretty much fun, too. He's a comedian in town, and he was on the show. It was pretty insane. Anyway, he was dropping F-bombs left and right.
I know, right?
Hey, Bill Conway, Do a commercial on that. It's good stuff.
Oh, shout out to our good friend Frank. He weighed in on the Ben Joravsky Show Facebook page. He has the correct name of the island on Jaws. I think Amity is the name of the island on Jaws.
You know what? You absolutely.
My phone's freaking out.
Okay, you're absolutely correct. I sit corrected, but that's a fictitious.
Amity Island
Yes.
is the name of the town in Jaws.
But
There
I
we
believe
go.
it was based on either Martha's Vineyard. What's the other one? I forget the other one. Frank, what's the other island? I forget the name of it. It's off.
Or just don't listen to the show, Frank. You don't have to work for us every single time, you know?
Frank, by the way, I'm going to cut a deal with you in April. Come back to the show. But I forget the name of the other island anyway.
All right, let's go to everyone on the live stream chat here. We got Kyle. Kyle weighed in. Kyle says, I'm enjoying that when Ben gets praised for doing a good interview, his speechless reaction is similar to Shemp Howard seeing a beautiful woman, and it's wonderful.
A Three Stooges reference. I love the Three Stooges. D, remember the Three Stooges?
Yes, I do.
Who's your favorite Stooge?
Oh, I'm a big I like Shemp. Larry doesn't get enough credit. I'm a Larry guy.
How about, come on, Mo I love Mo, all right? But Three Stooges. What was my Shemp? How does Shemp do it, D? I mean, do you have a Shemp imitation?
No, he wasn't on enough.
Okay.
For me to get an impression, you know what I mean? And plus, I would like our, modern day 21st century listeners to really keep on board with the program today. You know what I mean?
I got a feeling that not a lot of millennials know who the Three Stooges are.
Weigh in on the Ben Joravsky Show live stream chat here, everyone. Kyle says, Conway's ad is BS and placating to a dumb electorate. Who doesn't want to think for themselves? It's King Lear levels of tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, he's deep.
Well, it is. No, but he would be correct if Conway's daddy bought that election for him. You know, don't forget Carlisle making all those guns and war armaments and running nursing homes. Check out, again, David Heitzman, give him credit, and Dan Hinkle, their story on the front page of the Chicago Tribune. Billionaire dad bankrolls Cook County State's attorney bid. So that ad was paid for with money from daddy.
All right, everybody. So there you are. We'll keep you posted on these stories as today's program rolls along. We'll let you know if Bill Conway puts out another ad with our show in it.
Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
This is how this ad actually sounds?
Yeah. We'll
That's
play
the
it.
ad?
We'll play it.
There's
for you.
more to
There's
it.
More, not much more, but there is more. We'll play it. Maya's in the studio. We're going to play it for you when we come get your thoughts on it.
All right, everybody. Don't go anywhere. It's the Ben Joravsky Show live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
Hey, D.
Yeah?
Did I tell you that the Ben Joravsky Show is sponsored by Rattleback Records?
No.
Well, it is. Rattleback Records at 5405 North Clark Street is Andersonville's full-service record store. Hey, D. Did I tell you it was voted one of Chicago's best record stores in the 2019 Chicago Reader poll?
No.
Well, it was.
Wow.
Rattleback Records, 5405 North Clark Street. Used and new LPs and 45s. They got CDs, DVDs, books, gifts, and much more. For more information, contact them at rattlebackrecords.com. That's RATTLEBACK records.com.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
I love that bit. That was from the summer when it was Gator Gate. Gator got your granny in the Humboldt Park Lagoon, and you play that hipster. Seen a whole lot of catfish, no gators.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
Oh, God, my beloved hipsters. They're out there, okay? That's a big story this summer, D. You forget, remember? We got a lot of... Maya was all over that alligator story, weren't you, Maya?
False. I engaged not at all with this story. Not mentally or in my public life.
All right, what I was saying at the break, Maya did a riff on... I don't even remember this riff on Kim Fox. Remember this was like 3 weeks ago, and the campaign against her and how you felt it was so unfair and that Smollett Gate was just a complete diversion. Anyway, I don't know if you remember that riff. It was about 3 weeks, and a few F-bombs were flying from you, which on that day, which is not rare. And then this Kim Fox came into the studio on Thursday. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And appreciate that. And she said bullshit, which, as you know, in this studio is not rare that somebody would swear. People are swearing all the time in this studio. And we laughed about it. I said, it's a podcast. You're allowed to swear.
People in your comments are still periodically, somebody will pop in and say it's disrespectful to you that people swear.
Yes. I know. Some people feel that way, but...
You don't feel that way, I don't think.
No, because people swear all the time. I'm surrounded by it.
You swear all the time.
Is that true?
You listeners at home have no idea what goes on here when the mics are off and Ben is eating his sandwich and Dr. G is putting up the show online.
No, he's eating his beeping sandwich. That's what he calls it.
This mother beep is really good. A lot of people swear in this show, on the show, when the mics are on.
Yeah.
But I follow Dennis's rule, and he learned, he's a radio guy. Don't swear when you're on the mic. So I really try not to swear when I'm on the mic. And but my guests, come on, you guys are free to do what you want, and they do. Adolfo Mondragon, as I pointed out, usually a minute has passed and he's already dropped 2 F-bombs or 3. But it's completely hypocritical, Maya, to be outraged by it because people swear all the freaking time.
Well, but that's not I don't think the point was that she swore on your show.
Well, I think
the reason why they're weaponizing this isn't because she swore, it's because she said it was bullshit.
And yes, but I think, yes, you're correct. We'll play the commercial. Do you want to play it one more time? I don't think Maya's heard that.
Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
The reputation of the city of Chicago wasn't marred by Jussie Smollett. This issue with Smollett is bullshit.
A special prosecutor has now been assigned.
Kim Fox finds herself in the full-blown investigation of
Smollett received special treatment.
This issue with Smollett is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
Okay, I don't like this music, which is like vaguely urban. This is like definitely like dog whistle music. This is like there's something vaguely edgy about it. Like you could hear it in the background of some like show on TV on kind of mainstream cable channels, some like crappy drama about like crime in the city, or you could hear it in the background of like some song that's trying to sound like it's in the urban genre, whatever you might want to call it. This choice of music is really irritating. Number 2, so this is just my aesthetic analysis of this.
Go ahead.
Number 2 is like the whole thing sounds like it's like a teaser for some show. It sounds like a teaser for a reality show. I don't know. Who is that supposed to convince? Who's going to watch that and be like, oh, man, didn't know what my position was on Kim Fox until now. But, man, this ad really, now I really know. Now I really know where my mind's at about this issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I could think too much about this commercial.
I want to have, you know what? Maybe I should do a story one day about people who are convinced by attack ads. Like people who don't have an opinion until they see an attack ad and then they form an opinion based on an attack ad.
Well, my guess is, and we should bring in a consultant who's done some kind of studies on this. My guess is that they're just hoping and mobilizes people who already dislike him, Fox, to come out to vote. Or and
yeah, the urban music is really gonna
scare people.
The vaguely urban beats of that are gonna really be persuasive to the Northwest Side and county voters against the polls.
There's that line in Bombshell, which I don't know if you saw. They were talking about the sort of the worldview of Fox TV during its glory run, in quotes, and that it should be a story should be done in such a way that upsets your grandfather and scares your grandmother. That's I'm paraphrasing it, but that's essentially the gist of it, and that's what that is all about. That commercial
really insults the intelligence of your grandparents.
Yes. Oh, the Fox attitude toward the people who are out there watching it. Yeah. So. Yeah. But I do think they are also trying to hope, anybody who would be offended by her using the word bullshit, and that's why they just close it with that reverb, saying it over and over again. They dropped Smollett Gate.
Do you really think that's the point? That that this is an ad that's trying to mobilize people who are going to be like mad that she said bullshit, and that's what's gonna get them to the polls? That's it. Like, I'm going to vote now. This lady said bullshit on a podcast.
Hey, man.
I was on the fence, but then
now she said bullshit on a podcast.
That may get some. Who knows? I've had people say to me, come up to me, she shouldn't have said it. She shouldn't have said it, Ben. People have said this to me, and their names will not be revealed because it was a private conversation. They've said she shouldn't have said it. I'm like, why? The people that say this to me are people who say it all the time.
Yeah.
This is part of the contradiction, the hypocrisy, and the double standard. So I definitely think he wanted to call attention to it. Whether it swings one vote one way or the other, which is your point, I have no idea. I don't know if any of these attack ads will swing one vote one way or the other. By the way, speaking of which, out of the blue, yesterday I received this. Didn't mean it. I mean,
what's this?
Mike 2020. Mike Bloomberg came.
Oh, you're still sending out mailers,
I guess so.
I got really a disturbing piece of mail from Mike Bloomberg at my current residence that was addressed to me at a former residence, to me and my ex, like cursed piece of mail addressing us as a household at an address that no longer exists. Laying out Mike's vision for, this is post him dropping out.
Post a lot of things.
Let me see that.
Here you go. This may be the same one you got.
No. Mine came in a sealed envelope. It looked like a serious piece of mail. It wasn't even this.
Yeah. So anyway, that arrived in the mail yesterday, and I was like, Mike, it's over. Let it go already. Nope.
This must have already been in the mail.
Yeah, probably. Mike Bloomberg.
Look, coronavirus isn't on here. See, they're really not up to speed with the times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't. Oh, that's interesting. An attack ad about the coronavirus.
I'm sure. I'm sure
it's coming.
I'm sure. Yeah. Joe Biden's people are working on it.
They're working on it right now. An attack ad. Be scared.
Hey, you guys had an awesome event last week at the Promontory in Hyde Park.
Yes,
it went really well.
Are you?
No,
is this some kind of?
Are you trying to
make a statement about how it was irresponsible for us to have that public event?
Yeah,
with coronavirus
not at all. I just wanted you guys to talk about it a bit. It was a really good event. Del Marie Cobb was on fire.
Yeah, Del Marie Cobb.
Del Marie Cobb made a lot of new fans. There are a lot of people coming up to me after that talking about how badass Del Marie Cobb is.
Del Marie Cobb, yes, she is badass indeed, and she told it like it is. And I really am happy because there was Jeanette Taylor, who ran for Alderwoman of the 20th Ward, and Del Marie Cobb was the chief strategist for Nicole Johnson, who ran against her. And you wrote about that campaign. Your heart was into that race. It was.
I wrote about it before Jeanette Taylor emerged as like a major force in that campaign. There were a lot of characters in that
about 13, I want to say.
Yeah. And the people who seemed to be front runners at the beginning, like back in December when I was reporting the story, were like a totally different set of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I like the fact that our little show brought on the stage two of the most important voices in Chicago politics, in my opinion.
And one of the most important organizers in Chicago politics, and political grassroots, anything having to do with pushing our city in a progressive direction from a grassroots perspective.
Yeah, on that little show,
Yeah.
okay, and people got to hear them, and Del Marie Cobb has been a force in Chicago politics going back to the 80s. She was press secretary. She mentioned this on the Jesse Jackson's 1988 campaign, a very important campaign, his presidential campaign in 1988. And I bring this campaign up all the time in conversations with people when we talk about the black vote, because Jesse Jackson's platform, I cannot say this enough, was Bernie before Bernie. And Jesse made this clear in a column he wrote for today's Sun-Times, which you took it over there. It's in the today's Sun-Times, explaining why he endorsed Bernie Sanders. But Jesse Jackson points out that he was for Medicare for all in 1988. 1988. And I have so many people who come in the studio and tell me that black voters are conservative, they're just not as left as you are, Ben, et cetera, and so forth. I'm like, Jesse Jackson was doing this long before it was fashionable. And the greatest politician, perhaps the greatest black politician to come out of Chicago over the last 100 years, Harold Washington, was every bit as a lefty as I am. So I'm just throwing that out there, that there's a lot of myths that are being spread right now.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons why black voters are lining up behind Joe Biden. We could talk about that forever and ever. But I do not believe it's because instinctively black voters have this aversion to lefty politics, because they've been supporting some lefty politicians for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anyway, so Del Marie Cobb, she was right on. She did a great job. And yes, it was great to have her on the same stage with Jeanette Taylor. And
Kofi Adebola.
And you can listen to it. We made it available for download on both Chicago Sun-Times reader websites, wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Go check it out.
Yeah.
That is correct. I don't know if you knew that, but Dennis did a masterful job. And it's on our podcast, and folks are listening to it all over again. So a great job, Dr. D, as always. All right, let's talk about the coronavirus. This was on your mind when I called you up this morning. Tell folks what's on your mind about this.
What's on my mind is just trying to wrap my mind around something that's impossible to fathom, which is like the scale of this outbreak that's clearly looming and going to happen, just because hearing about what's happening in Italy and Iran, it's completely clear that this is not going to be an containable situation in this country. I mean, there are like thousands of American students who were like involved in study abroad programs in Italy who are now coming back to the United States that are like getting essentially those like medical evacuations. People are being recalled and their programs are being taught, there's like some kind of teleclasses or whatever. But that's like people who have been at one of the centers of the outbreak. You could have this thing for weeks and not have any symptoms or not know anything about it. The numbers that we're getting from the government here seem like extremely low. And it's not because there's some kind of conspiracy. I'm not saying, I don't want to like fearmonger to an unrealistic degree, but like this country's health system is set up in such a way that like there's no easy way for public health systems statewide and municipally and nationally to communicate with one another. So, people are traveling between here and California all the time, every day. There's, people are traveling between the Pacific Northwest and here and everywhere else in the country. So it really, based on what I'm hearing from people who are in places that have been much more drastically affected so far, this country is like not prepared and is like really underestimating how affected we're going to be by this and very, very soon. And, I guess maybe this is just a general, I don't know if this is a result of typical American exceptionalist kind of thinking where people just think that everything's going to be fine and they're not going to be affected and it's not really going to affect their lives or whatever. Or the scale of this problem is so large and unprecedented that like people just don't have a way of thinking about this. Like we in like our contemporary times are not used to dealing with like the idea of a plague. We don't have any like recent, like when during the Spanish flu epidemic in 1918, 1919, everybody knew someone who died. Like globally, everyone knew someone who died. So if this thing is anywhere on that scale, which it like all signs point to the fact that it probably will be, like we're not even used to dealing with outbreaks of disease in which like, okay, now there's like a cholera outbreak, now there's a Ebola outbreak or whatever, and this is just, it's like it just affects everybody, it affects how you live, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's like, you know, and people are, I mean, I was talking to somebody who works for the city the other day. I was asking, like, you know, is there like a protocol for not coming in and like, you know, conducting business just at City Hall or whatever? And it seems like maybe there's some kind of conversations going on about it. But at the end of the day, these are still people who come to work every day, just as like city workers or whatever, who are having like days and days, like every day is hours of meetings. Or if they're not the people that are working, you know, sort of behind the scenes and are in meetings all day, they're people who are working directly in the customer service capacity, who are dealing with people all day long. They're all commuting, you know, if they're city workers, they're living in the city, they're commuting, you know, if they're working downtown, they're probably commuting on the CTA, you know. So it's not as if everybody's suddenly going to start driving and we can like seriously expect contamination to be limited because people are going to be staying in their own vehicles and not in a mass transit situation. That's like not realistic, even with the gas prices going down now, which is probably going to motivate more people to drive if they can. But in general, I just feel like we're probably not hearing anywhere near a realistic estimate of how many people are infected, because there's not that much testing happening and people can be infected for weeks without knowing it and having no symptoms. And when it's going to come time to like managing this on a large scale in terms of people actually being sick, I really doubt that our public health systems are going to be able to really realistically handle it. Because like what I'm hearing from my friends in Italy is like doctors are being recalled from retirement and hospitals are being converted to like 90% ICU. Like they're just like triaging everything into like ICU, and then like any other health issues are just going on the back burner. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really not so confident that Mike Pence handling this for the nation is like bodes well for our preparedness.
Yeah.
And again, there's not. It's not. I'm sure that like, you know, the authorities in like a city like Chicago are trying to stay abreast of this as much as they can. But at the end of the day, like Chicago's public health system, Cook County's public health system, the state of Illinois' health system, like all of that is already like super disjointed and bifurcated, and there's not a ton of communication and not an easy flow of resources between all those levels, right? And then you factor in other states and like and you know, something on the national level. There's just, we don't have any unified health system here in which resources can be marshaled in a way that like is most efficient and you know, saves the maximum number of people or provides care to the people who like need it most. We just have nothing like that set up. Everything is like super disjointed and bifurcated across the country. So I don't know. It makes me want to read more about how major kind of epidemics in this country were handled in this country.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe the Spanish flu is probably the last one, but like what happened in terms of the public health infrastructure. Because honestly, while our level of medical, you know, science has obviously advanced, the way our government is structured isn't so different from 1918.
Yeah, and when I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking about how, in general, our leaders respond to things like this. And there's first of all, so much is not known. There's so many unknowns just about the impact of the illness, what it does to you, and how serious it is. I have this conversation all the time. We should bring like an expert in. But I have this conversation all the time. Well, Ben, is it much worse than the flu? I like how people come to me. Like I'm probably the least equipped to talk about this. I barely passed any science course I ever took. But is it worse than just an ordinary flu?
But it depends on for whom.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's much worse than the ordinary flu for people who have compromised immune systems, who are older, who might be smokers, who are pregnant. Like it's.
And then there's some people who, like 80%, I think, just it is like the flu. It mild symptoms. But you have to take it serious. The point I'm making is when I look at leaders that deal with something like this, Maya, at first, this was Trump and Lori Lightfoot responded this way. They don't want it to upset the apple cart, if you will. And this is why I was jokingly alluding it to like the people in the movie Jaws who were worried about word getting out about a shark attack because it would hurt the tourist trade.
Oh, yeah.
It's very similar. Like I remember early on, the concern Lori had that, come on, let's not exaggerate this.
But the same logic is exactly the reason why this has gotten so out of control in the first place. Because in Wuhan, the local government officials were so worried about upsetting the higher up people and creating problems for themselves and with their political situation and their kind of little fiefdom that they just concealed this for an entire month. And burned the bodies and didn't and persecuted the people who were trying to get the word out about this. So this is the same exact logic. Maybe it's not driven at higher up party officials, but rather Wall Street or whoever it is that Lori's to tourists. But this same logic is is at the root of the problem. And when it comes to Italy, there's what's one of one of the top tourist destinations for Americans. There's thousands and thousands of people that have traveled between Italy and the United States in the last month. Thousands of people. They're all over this country, everywhere. So yeah, I don't. I really. What can you say? I guess other than try to. Because if people are panicking, I suppose it makes things worse. But I find it my question is is the government prepared to be providing resources on a mass scale to the general population who can't get disinfecting wipes or antibacterial gels or whatever, hand sanitizer at the supermarket anymore?
It's not at all clear that government is engaged in this, and this gets to a larger problem with the Trump administration in general. And we've lost. I'm speaking for myself here. I'm not putting this on you, but I get so involved in almost the day-to-day fight to get Trump out of the office that I forget somehow the overriding impact his administration and his movement, if you will, have had on this country. And part of the impact is to turn everything into this drama involving Donald Trump. So from the get-go, he treated the coronavirus outbreak as though it were part of a fake news narrative put out by his opponents. It was all about driving him from office, as opposed to thinking like the leader of a country whose people are looking to him for guidance and for security. And even now, Maya, I'm in no way confident that there's unified thought at the top branches of the government, that the smartest minds who know about the spread of diseases are working on this, that it's not just all politically driven. It just seems so haphazard and so inconsistent and undercut by a tweet that he may deliver at any given moment, and dividing this state against that state, and saying the news is fake, the fake news, continuing that chorus so that people aren't supposed to believe who you're supposed to believe. And I just think that this just makes it even more frightening, because I can't think in my lifetime, and I've lived under some pretty bad presidents, any president this bad at being the leader of the country, if you follow what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, and I think I just thought about this as you were talking. It's how much of the politics of this is going to be we're not going to make the people who are going to be most vulnerable to coronavirus are people like us living in big cities with mass transit, lots of contact between people, dense places with lots of contact between people. It's not like people living in the version of America where everybody is in the car by themselves to get from point A to point B, where people are overwhelmingly shopping on Amazon because there's like not a ton of shopping options around them. Where like I sort of imagine this like landscape of Trump supporters in like suburban or kind of rural America where just public life is really doesn't exist in the way that it does in the city. And like, will this administration care less about this issue and marshal fewer resources to it because this will be a big city problem and they don't care about this is politically uninteresting to them to be like dealing with big city problems other than to marshal them as rhetoric to keep the voters in Michigan voting for them? Like,
it's very real, and you're raising good points. And this is part of my frustration when Trump uses Chicago as his punching bag. A completely different level. It's guessing ties back to Kim Fox. Whenever there's shootings or murders, it's to his advantage. Donald Trump just will tweet out or give a speech mocking Chicago, rolling his eyes at the Democratic Party. It's not like he is engaged in the issues we're facing. It's like it's a prop. It's a way of riling up his base and demoralizing the other side. And like Donald Trump, when there's a shooting, it's one of my favorite.
His base thinks that coronavirus isn't going to affect them. And statistically speaking, maybe it'll do so to a lesser degree.
I'm not even sure that's the case because I know that they've quarantined. I just saw this in the paper that there was what was it, the Conference of Conservative Action Conference, that one of the leaders of the group was shaking hands, and so Trump is like one person away from someone who had it. So I don't think like an outbreak like this knows political boundary. I understand what you're saying,
right? But it knows an outbreak like this, like the density of people in a place, like it matters.
Yeah.
Like the contagion has been spreading through like nodes of like cities where there's a lot of traffic, where there's a lot of human contact. Like this thing will affect Chicago much more than Peoria.
Yeah, on a micro level. I know what you're saying. But it will affect Peoria.
It will affect Peoria.
And
where will Donald Trump show up and throw paper towels at the crowd? Like, where's that going to be?
That's another great example. The way Donald Trump trivialized the impact of the hurricane in Puerto Rico, mocked the people of Puerto Rico, used it as a talking point in his commercials to fire up people, just to laugh at the calamity in Puerto Rico, because he knew they're not going to vote for me anyway. And, so I don't need their votes. Who cares about them?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the lack of leadership from the get-go with this man. And it just, by the way,
but I really think there's like that the failure of leadership on this issue is happening like at every level of government. Like, but because people they can't. I don't think there's a clear idea of what to do.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, like if like city workers are continuing to commute every day to these massive into these nexuses of people that are all in one place together in the most crowded part of the city, and they're coming in and out of this space. Everybody who works downtown is coming in and out of this space. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's impossible not to talk about, but there's nothing to say about it that's in any way a solution.
No.
Or, just like wash your hands and don't touch your face and like don't touch people.
Massive. No, it's funny because last night at bowling, we always do the high fives and everything after a strike. And man, people were washing their hands like crazy last night.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. My Lakeisha Collins is in the studio. My next guest is in the studio. We're going to bring her on. Thanks so much for dropping in, Maya. And yes, everybody, check out that Dennis posted it yesterday. It's a Tuesday show. It's really good in my humble opinion. Tuesday show at the Promontory we were
Yeah.
talking about.
People should check it out. And there's a video version of it on the First Tuesdays with Maya and Ben Facebook page and the Reader Facebook page.
Oh my God, we are so hip. Putting out
So we've
audio,
got it
video.
everywhere.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you got going on, Maya, you want people to know about? You got the listeners here.
I mean, please just wash your hands and don't touch your face and don't touch
go.
other people.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
and if you're coughing, please just cover yourself in some way. Self-isolate.
All right. Health tips from Maya. I appreciate it. We have Lakeisha Collins coming on. We'll be right back after this. Hey, everybody. What you're about to hear are the piano stylings of Jeff Manuel. Man, listen to Jeff go. Jeff Manuel has been playing piano around Chicago for years. He's played for conventions, for celebrities, played in basement bars with blues bands. He's played at prestigious social clubs, fine restaurants, and in the intimacy of private homes. Book Jeff Manuel at jeffemanuelpianist.com. Don't worry, I'll spell his name at the end of this commercial. You know what Chicago Magazine said? They said that Jeff Manuel is, quote, as comfortable with Chopin as he is with Cole Porter. He's excellent and his performance is joyous. He offers an elegant stream of compositions and interpretations that entertains the mind but won't hurt the ears. To hear more of Jeff Manuel's work and to book Jeff for your next event, go to jeffmanuelpianist.com. I'm going to spell it out for you, people. J-E-F-F. M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, UELPIANIST.com. Take it away, Jeff Manuel. Eroding beaches on Chicago's lakefront, warmer winters in the upper Midwest, microplastics in our water. What can any one person do? Our best hope for saving the planet and ourselves is through the power of we. Get to the 9th annual One Earth Film Festival, the Midwest's premier environmental film festival. It's March 6th through the 15th. March 6th through the 15th.
When?
March 6th through the 15th. I was waiting for you to say that.
The 14th?
No. Pay attention. Take a piece of paper out and a pencil and write it down. March 6th through the 15th. Okay?
15th.
And there's 26 films, 48 events, and 4 counties. What is that again, D?
26
films,
48
events,
4
counties. You can engage with filmmakers and experts. Venues include Tesla Gold Coast, Loyola University, Plant Chicago, Old St. Patrick's Church, Chicago Cultural Center, Lake Theater in Oak Park, and much more. Go to oneearthfilmfest.org. What is that, D?
oneearthfilmfest.org.
One more time.
oneearthfilmfest.org.
God, are you good?
That's correct.
Did you know that 40% of the people in Illinois opt to be cremated? Well, it's true. And Chicagoland Cremation Options honors their wishes by providing cremation services directly to the general public. Chicagoland Cremation Options provides an affordable, ethical, and easy cremation arrangement, whether in person or online. Save thousands and streamline the process by going directly to Chicagoland Cremation Options. It's a family-owned business operated by my good friend, Douglas Klein. Here's how you reach them. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com. One more time. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com.
Kim Fox is a proven progressive reformer, fighting gun crime, enacting bail reform, and expunging records from the failed war on crime are a few of her achievements. It takes more than 3 years to fix the broken justice system. Look at her record, not her rhetoric, like her saying bullshit on podcasts. Re-elect Kim Fox for Cook County State's Attorney, paid for by Friends for Fox. Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show for Tuesday, March 10th is just moments away. But before we get into that, we got to thank the following unions for sponsoring this program. Unions like the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 in District 8. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9 are sponsors, as well as the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Can't thank these unions enough for jumping on board. Couldn't do it without you. And, of course, today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Hour number 2, let's go. It is Tuesday, March 10th, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. In this hour of the program, candidates. 9th District State Rep candidate Lakeisha Collins is here, and will be joined by 49th District State Senate candidate Michael Crowner. And now your host, not a candidate.
Nope, never.
He is a columnist.
Yes.
Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
I am a columnist. I wrote a column about Kim Fox, Bill Conway, the bullshit ad, in more ways than one. Still upset about that. Jackie Algie's in the studio to introduce our next guest. I'm so irritated by that on so many levels because I do think Smollett Gate, our obsession with Smollett Gate, is bullshit, okay? And I don't think that Kim Fox crossed the line when she said the word bullshit. And it's on a podcast in this studio where people swear all the time. They're trying to make such a big deal about it. And it's a double standard, Jackie Algie. When a man swears, it's like, oh, well, he's just being manly. But when a woman swears, oh, I can't believe she said that. And that's, people want to know why Elizabeth Warren had trouble breaking through. Jackie, this is part of the reason, all right? This double standard that Donald Trump swears all the time, and they cheer. Nothing happened. Rahm Emanuel, the guy woke up swearing, went to bed swearing, swore all day. Everybody, oh, that's Rahm being Rahm. You know?
Well, the ceiling's still there. That's the top and bottom line. Ceiling has not gone anywhere. We've made some inroads. Yeah, you got a few people like our amazing Kim Fox, who's been in office the last 3 years and trying to make this county better than it was before she got there, and she's done that. So for them to be caught up and hung up on a word and not on her record is a disgrace. So.
All right, we'll move on from that, although I will say that I'm as guilty as the next person, Jackie, for obsessively talking about Smollett Gate. I can't help it. I'm obsessed with the case. That said, come on. I recognize it's a triviality compared to the overwhelming issues of criminal justice in our country and trying to figure out a sane, rational way to police our streets so that you're not just sweeping up people who are innocent at the same time. You're not leaving people exposed to all sorts of criminals and stuff. I understand these are tough, difficult situations. But Smollett Gate? Give me a break, man. Come on. It's a triviality.
It really
is. It is. And listen, that said, I'll probably be talking about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come on, I can't help myself.
I mean, if we were to charge Trump with everything that he said, we wouldn't have enough paper to write, nor ink to write it with.
All right, Jackie Algie from SEIU. Why don't you introduce this young lady who's sitting next to you?
Listen, I am so honored to introduce this young woman. Her name is Lakeisha Collins. And I proudly proclaim and not only proclaim, but claim her as a daughter. She is an amazing young woman. She is a hard worker. She's an amazing mother. She's just a stand-up woman in all realms of life. But more importantly, as it relates to this race, she's the right candidate. She's the best candidate. And I tell her all the time, nobody can tell her story better than her, so I'll let her.
All right, Lakeisha Collins, welcome to the show.
Tell her story.
Thank you, Ben.
And so first of all, tell folks a little bit, before we get into who you are, talk a little bit about the district itself.
Yes, so the 9th District is very diverse. It goes all the way east as Armitage, and then all the way west as far as North Lawndale. So you have communities like North Lawndale, Holman Square, Little Village, a little bit of Pilsen, Lincoln Park, Old Town. It's a lot of diversity.
You mean as far as north as Armitage? Got it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty big district. I think it's about 108,000 constituents. Yeah.
And for years it was represented by State Representative Arthur Turner.
Senior, yes.
Senior.
Yes.
And then his son was the state rep.
Junior.
And now the brother is running. It's Aaron. So there's a lot of people running for the seat. It's a vacant seat. Yes. So tell folks about yourself, why you think you're the best able to be the state rep.
So a little bit of my background is that my mother passed away at 28 from cancer. I was 5 when my grandmother took me and my sister in. She became our legal guardian. So she was paralyzed on one side. So at a very young age, I learned how to take care of others before myself. I lived from house to house as a young girl. I experienced several levels of abuse, physical, mental, verbal, sexual. But it was my teachers who, took care of me, who let me come into their homes and fed me, gave me feminine products, but also helped me to transition into foster care. And while I was in foster care, that was the first time that I really experienced what it was like to have community, be, going to school, focusing on my work. But at the age of 20 is when I really made my very first hard decision, and that was to further my education or, take care of my son. And I chose my son, and that was my introduction into the labor movement and learning how to organize. And so I got my CNA certification. I started working at a nursing home. I was upset about the working conditions. We were taking care of the most vulnerable people. And so I became not only an advocate for the seniors, but an advocate for the workers. And so I learned about my contract, started to fight back against unjust things that I was seeing on the job. But I actively got involved, and I helped to organize 200 nursing home workers in 2010 to pass the Nursing Home Reform Act. I then became a spokesperson for Fight for 15 for nursing home workers. I helped to do a lot of the groundwork for that. And I've also helped to organize workers as a staff member of SEIU now. I've helped to organize workers to help improve their working conditions, raise their wages, fight for better benefits and affordable health care. I've actually led workers out on strike. And then just last year, I helped to pass the short staff and enforcement language, which is very important because it holds the industry accountable for short staff and the seniors. I'm currently running now for state representative because our district is disproportionately resourced. Whenever, we talk about balancing the budget, it's always off the backs of the working class and the working poor. And that's a problem. We see underneath this system that we've been under for 30 years is that we've had displacement, lack of affordable housing, we have school closures, we have lack of funding to our mental health clinics, and lack of good quality jobs. And so, I've been throughout the district, and it's like a tale of two cities. And so we need to organize in Springfield. This race will determine the future of this district. We need to make sure that when we talk about public safety, which is something that I heard a lot on the doors, and it's a different narrative. Some people say, well, we need more police on the street, right? Well, my idea is that we have to deal with public safety in a holistic way. We have to tackle the root causes, which is making sure that we have more affordable housing. That's why I support Lift the Ban on Rent Control. We need to make sure that we fully fund our mental health clinics and fully fund our neighborhood schools and have an elected representative school board for accountability. We need to invest into our higher education. We need to continue to increase the minimum wage, but also something that I've been fighting for a long time before it even became popular is a fair tax. Passing a fair tax, making sure that those top 1% pay their fair share. It's a lot, Ben, but
that was quite an impressive riff there. So let me just, I've been taking notes on everything you had to say. And I like the union thing, and I got to tell you, the show's very pro-union. We're supported by unions. We wouldn't be here without union support. And
That's correct.
Everyday people.
And so that's important, you know. And I point this out all the time. How do I say this, Keisha? If it's like some people think, well, I'm just into like a union issue. That's my only issue. Or I'm just in, this is 101 of Ben. Or I'm just into a woman's right to choose issue. Or I'm just worried about environmental regulations. Or I'm gun control. And the reality is this. The only party right now in America that's addressing all those issues is the Democratic Party. I'm just putting that out there. I'm going to be real. Okay? The Republican Party ignores every single one of these issues, pretends like they're not issues.
That's right.
And so I like it when my candidates come in here and they recognize that. Do you follow what I'm saying? They recognize that it's not about a woman's right to choose alone solely, or just gun control, or just, you know, whatever. Like I said, crime issue. It's like all tied together.
All of it.
And it's really important for the Democratic Party to recognize that. So I appreciate the fact that you're not running away from any of these issues, particularly the union support. All right, let's talk a little bit about where you grew up. Are you from Chicago originally?
I am from Chicago. My father is a West Sider. My mom is a South Sider. I've lived pretty much from house to house. I stayed on the South Side, the West Side, Naperville, Warrenville, Wheatonville, Glen Ellen.
So you
I was a
actually
foster kid, so I was also homeless, so I was living pretty much everywhere. I had a lot of diversity growing up.
Where'd you end up going to high school?
Proviso East is where I ended up.
So you were in Maywood.
Yes, I went to Maywood too. I went to Wavanzi Valley High School. I went to DuSable.
So how did you keep your? How did, like, when you were moving around? How did you like keep your strength mentally? Your mental strength with all these different transitions in your life.
Ooh, it's hard navigating through a system that you feel like isn't meant for you. But I kept God first, and I feel like, you know, my mom passing away, I've always felt like she was just putting people in my life that played a key part in me being the woman I am today. So every person that I meet, I always look for the better good, and I take a lot of advice from, you know, folks who've been through the same struggle or worse. But I've always kept myself focused and kept a plan. Like, in these 5 years, I'm going to be here. But I've always been told by people who, you know, are supposed to love you the most, that you wouldn't be anything. You wouldn't amount to nothing. So I've been proving them that I can, and I will. And so, yeah.
And if you get elected, what are some of the first things you're going to work on?
When I get elected,
Okay, excuse me.
speak it into existence, man.
That's right, man.
I'm going to work on public safety because that was one of the top things that I've heard throughout the district. Education, and then housing. All of those play a part in, you know, someone wanting to be successful or wanting their community to thrive. There's so many other things too, but this will be my first time running for office. The main thing I'll do is try to align with allies in Springfield, my colleagues who share the same vision as me and our constituents in our district, and work from there.
All right, well, let me say, you talked about lifting the ban in terms of like a rent control to help protect people in gentrifying area. And that district, the 9th that you just laid out, includes a lot of different areas, some of which are gentrifying. Now, I'm telling you this right now, when you get elected, you're going to get a call from some powerful people, and they go, don't listen to Ben. Okay, first of all, separate yourself from him. That'll be the first thing they tell you. And the second thing they'll tell you is go a little slow. Okay, you're pushing too hard. You don't understand. You're new. You're a rookie. But these things are complicated, and there's real estate interests at stake here. So just back off a little bit on this. So how are you going to deal with that?
Stand on my own 2 feet like I've been doing. I stood up against one of the most powerful industries, which is nursing home industry, fought back and won. I've negotiated contracts with owners who've said that, like, it's impossible to pass 15. You'll never see it, right? And we've passed the 15 minimum wage for the city and the state. But yeah, I mean, just standing on my own 2 feet. My values are important, and they always kept me centered. And so, yeah, and organizing. Organizing is important. A lot of people, they, like, even when I organize workers in the nursing homes, for an example, what I hear at the beginning is, we will never see $14, or they're not going to agree to this, or whatever, I'm just going to keep my second job. And it's like, don't you want better? Like, we all want to work one job and still be able to be comfortable and, support our kids, or, take care of our business without having to struggle. And so, organizing them around the real issue, which is that your owner is making millions of dollars off your labor, and yet you're struggling to pay your light bill or put food on the table. Where's the problem, right? But at the end of the contract campaign, every contract campaign that I've been able to, lead, the workers always say, like, I never thought we can get to this point. And it's like, yeah, because sometimes we just have to do it collectively. And that's what it's going to take in Springfield, is for people to come together collectively, see the bigger picture, believe in it, and continue to fight for it. Even with a fair tax, people frowned upon it and said, oh, that'll never happen. We have an opportunity in November to pass it, right? Corporations are coming here in droves. Why do you think that? Because there's so many tax loopholes, right? But yeah.
So you're not going to back down. All right. Well,
I'm not going to back down, but I mean, I'm aware that I'm new. And I'm aware that people may, try to take advantage of that. But I've been a fighter my whole life,
All right. So you're running in the 9th Legislative District state rep seat. And usually when candidates come in, we got another candidate sitting by, so get ready for this question. Usually when candidates come in and I ask about races other than their own, I get a lot of ducking and dodging and a lot of dancing, because no candidate, like he said, that not no candidate, but most candidates do not want to tie themselves to any other campaign, because they want everybody to support them. So, okay. So this is my long way of asking you, do you support anybody in the presidential race?
I supported Warren, but I'm also feeling the burn.
You feeling the burn these days?
Feeling the burn. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're true to, your values and uplifting the communities or our state, our city, or our country, then, and if it aligns with that candidate, why not support them publicly, right? I was asked a question yesterday from a reporter that said, you talk about being an organizer in Springfield. We had an organizer from Chicago. Do you know who that organizer is? And I'm like, yeah, Obama. And then he's like, well, how will you feel his shoes? And I said, I'm feeling my own shoes. I've lived my own experience. And lots of people relate to it. It's thousands of Lakeishas out there. It's thousands of, Lakeishas who are walking in this world, trying to navigate through a system that does not work for them. And so, yeah.
Brian, when you said that, I flunked the test. You go, we had an organizer. I'm like, who is the organizer?
Look at you.
I mean,
I was like, wondering if you got that
then. And I'm sorry, I don't think of Barack Obama as an organizer.
I know you don't, but you should.
Organizer.
That's where he started. That's how he got his start.
I started as a scholar at Evanston High School. I think I moved on from there. I know Barack Obama. I mean, I know he played that organizing card for a long time, but he was also a lawyer and a college professor. And But, when you said that.
But he stands on that.
Yeah,
he stands on
Well, Jeanette Taylor may have something else to say about
and
that.
I'm going to tell you something. That was one of the things when he first started running in 08 that really took off. Like it just helped to, boost the morale of people, because it made him so common, if you would, to everyone.
Yeah.
They could relate to him because he related to them.
Yeah, that's a valid point. But I'm just saying, I did not. When you said we had an organizer in Springfield, I have to tell you, I was like,
well, he was the president.
Yeah, I was like, who was the organizer? I was literally going through my mind. I was like,
yeah, I thought about it at first too. I'm thinking about Martin Luther King when he asked me that question, because I'm like, Martin Luther King did a lot of work on the West Side.
Yes, he did.
For affordable housing, for the janitors, and so when he asked the question at first, I was thinking Didn't run for office.
No,
So
Martin,
I'm talking
no.
about Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. So you actually got it right.
Yes.
I got to give that. Who was the reporter that said that?
Kai from the North Lawndale newspaper.
I got to give Kai credit, man. That stumped me. I'm like, who's the organizer?
He was blown away with my response too. But it's true. I'm not trying to, walk in anyone else's shoes. I'm walking in my own truth. These are my beliefs, and I'm gonna stand by them 100%.
All right, now the other one is Kim Fox, and that's kind of on my mind these days because she was sitting in that chair right there, and I almost feel like I'm responsible because it was during our conversation that she said the word that Bill Conway is just hammering over the head with, which I don't even think. I agree it is bullshit, okay? Hey, you could run that as a campaign commercial, Conway, but I just don't think. I just believe. Get your thoughts on this. There is a double standard when women run, okay?
Yeah.
And
Always.
they just, and this
Never
gets
gonna
back to
change.
Hillary Clinton, because I heard her when she was being interviewed by Howard Stern. Jackie, I don't know if we ever talked about this, but Hillary Clinton was saying, there was that moment in the debate, Lakeisha, I don't know if you remember, if you saw 2016, there was that open debate where Hillary and Donald Stern were standing up. And when Hillary Clinton was talking, Donald Trump moved right behind her and stood there, hovering
Yeah, I
over her.
remember
Remember that?
I remember
And it like broke all the rules and all the protocol of how you're supposed to respect people. And Hillary Clinton didn't respond to it. She just kept talking.
Right.
And Howard Stern asked her about that in the interview. Like the attitude of man would turn around and go, excuse me, you're not supposed to stand there, move over there. And Hillary Clinton essentially said that, well, if I did that, they'd say I was, a mean woman or a nasty woman, or they hit me with the dumb. Okay, so this is like, I had to worry about doing it that way. And the criticism I had about Kim Fox, and we had talked about, and this is Del Marie, I'm just stealing it from her, is that she wasn't forceful enough in coming back, counterpunching when they went at her with all the Smollett Gate stuff. So do you feel inhibited in any way as a woman running for office, or are you free and liberated?
Ooh. I mean, being a black woman is hard, especially in politics, because I hear it a lot, too, in the communities that, one, you're too young, this is a man's world, it's more of a boys' club, and it's like, why do you think so many women of color are running for office against incumbents, right? I'm like, it is hard because you have to worry about how your hair look, your appearance, what you say, how you sit. I'm like leaning forward now because it's like I'm tired being 7 days out. But you're always told like to sit up straight, keep your head high, make good eye contact, give a smile here and there. It's like you can't be angry. And then black women, we have this thing where, she's angry because she's expressing emotion. And so you get tired of hearing it. So then it makes you angry. But no, I'm fine. Any space that I walk into, I own it because I'm proud of who I am. And I just encourage others to do the same. So I'm inspired by women like Kim Fox.
All right, very good. Well, and by the way, Jeanette Taylor's give her some love too.
And Alderman Jeanette Taylor.
Unafraid to say what's on her mind.
Unapologetic.
On this show. She swears like a sailor, and she never apologizes for it. And I'll bet a lot of people behind closed doors swear. I'm not saying come on the show and swear. I'm not asking anybody.
Sure.
You just
I
should
read
be
this
yourself.
article that, the most intelligent people swear a lot. I don't know if it's true. Well, I think it is, but.
Somebody accused me of swearing a lot. Maya, who's on, just said, I don't know.
I only heard you.
Much?
Do
I don't think so. My late mother, may she rest in peace, could swear like a sailor. And so maybe I picked it up from her. Oh, God, when she's talking about Republicans, I thought the F-bomb was attached to the word Republican, if you understand what I'm saying. Lakesia, tell folks if they want to get in contact with you, where they can get in contact with you, all that good information.
Yes, so my social media is Lakesia, Lakesia, the number 4, rep, rep.com. And then if you want to donate, you can donate to Friends of Lakesia, Lakesia. My office is located at 3252 West Roosevelt, right next to Leamington's in the shopping mall. If you want to volunteer, you're more than welcome to stop by. Our office opens as early as 10 a.m. and we close as late as 8. So.
All right, very good. All right, Jackie, got anything you want to say before I take a break and move on to our next guest?
No, we'd just like to thank you for having us
Yes.
on, Ben, and we want you to bring us back once we have the victory on next Tuesday.
Oh, well, we'll see. I bring her back.
Please,
Question
get out
is,
and
will she
vote.
listen to those people go, don't talk to Ben? No.
No, Ben, I'll be back.
All right, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Michael Crowner on deck. We're going to bring him on when we return.
It's the butter cow, which has 9 hearts to represent the 9 essential nutrients in milk. That's right, it's made entirely out of butter, and it's a state fair tradition since at least 1922.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
Hey, D.
Yeah?
Did I tell you that the Ben Joravsky Show is sponsored by Rattleback Records?
No.
Well, it is. Rattleback Records at 5405 North Clark Street is Andersonville's full-service record store. Hey, D. Did I tell you it was voted one of Chicago's best record stores in the 2019 Chicago Reader poll?
No.
Well, it was.
Wow.
Rattleback Records, 5405 North Clark Street. Used and new LPs and 45s. They got CDs, DVDs, books, gifts, and much more. For more information, contact them at rattlebackrecords.com. That's RATTLEBACK records.com.
Right now available at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. It's this week's edition of Beyond the Column with Ben Joravsky. We've been doing this for about a month now, where we take a deep dive in the latest column from Ben Joravsky. This week's column, Panic Peddlers. Ben.
Oh, God, I had to think about it because I just finished writing the other column. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. David Ferris, we took the deep dive on this one. We had a lot of fun. David Ferris, political science professor from Roosevelt University, really one of the smartest guys I know when it comes to analyzing elections. And so he did a regular sit down with us. We took the current political scene from A to Z, had a blast talking about the primaries, Biden versus Bernie, and David was going through the polls and showing how our worldview is distorted. Reality is that each of them have a very good chance of beating Donald John Trump. And then we closed that one and we talked about the column I wrote, which uses the 1972 presidential election when George McGovern was the Democratic candidate and he got swamped by Richard Nixon, and how that's a pivotal moment in the minds of boomers. And this has been on my mind. I haven't even had a chance to say this because so many, the Kim Fox thing came up, the coronavirus thing came up, so many distractions. How panicky boomers are in general. They see their shadow and they get nervous and they get afraid and they keep thinking they're reliving 1972 and every campaign's going to be like 1972 when the liberal George McGovern got swamped by Richard Nixon. And so that's what they're translating to this election and automatically assuming that Bernie Sanders would get swamped by Donald John Trump because it happened in 1972. So Panic Peddlers is an analysis of the 72 election and the actual impact it had. And we had a blast with David Ferris going back in time and talking about all these issues.
If you're an avid Ben Joravsky Show column reader, well, we hope you become an avid Ben Joravsky Show Beyond the Column listener. It's pretty cool. We take a deep dive in the latest column, and we also go back in Ben Joravsky column past. On this special episode, we actually take a deep dive all the way back to 1992. Yeah, Ben was
72.
Right. No, well, the came out in 92.
Oh, got it. Oh, my bad, yeah.
Yeah, you wrote one in 1992, and we talk about that one as well. It's a good time. It's Ben Joravsky Beyond the Column. And I got a feeling I know what this week's column is going to be about. Man, the time Kim Fox said bullshit on our program.
Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
Oh, nice effects there. It's Beyond the Column, Chicago Reader, Chicago Sun-Times websites, and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
All right, I just got this text from Joanna Klonsky. She asked me, "Hey Ben, you might want to remind people they can still apply to vote by mail until March 12th." Given coronavirus, worried about turnout depression. Board of Elections website has an application. It's super easy. So if you want to vote by mail, you can vote by mail. Thank you, Joanna, and dutifully reported that. All right, the way we're going to do this, have a dear friend of the show. People are going, "Where's Heidi Henry?" Well, she's not here. It's only one Heartland Mama.
I'm feeling a little naked without Heidi. I gotta say.
Murray Briel, the other half. Or maybe Heidi's the other half. Heartland Mamas come on maybe once a month, driving in from, I won't say the boonies because I get in trouble.
Please don't. Oh, our guest seems like a Heartland fun uncle.
Yes, a Heartland fun uncle. So why don't you introduce our guests, Marie?
All right. Well, thanks so much for having us on. We have Michael Crowner, who is running for Illinois State Senate seat in the 49th District. Now, it's currently held by a Democrat, and that senator is leaving to run for another position. So it is a contested race. And I have had the opportunity to meet and talk with all of them at length. And I will tell you by far, Michael is the way the district needs to go.
All right, very good. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, and so the incumbent is Jennifer Bertino Tarrant, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, and I got that right. And so first of all, give folks a sense of where the district is. This is always important. Our listeners are all over the place, so just give people a sense of where the district is.
Absolutely. So the district is in the southwest suburbs. The big bulk of the district is covered by Plainfield, but it also includes portions of Oswego and Shanahan, Shorewood, Joliet, Crest Hill, Romeoville, Bolingbrook, Naperville, and a wide array kind of out there. But yeah, generally in the far kind of southwest suburbs and going from, again, Naperville down all the way to Shanahan. So it's a pretty expansive district.
And roughly, which congressional district does it parallels it? Or is it in a couple?
It's in a couple. So Lauren Underwood covers a portion of the district as well as Representative Bill Foster.
All right. So we had Rachel Ventura in here the other day. She's running against Foster in the 11th Congressional District. So this is area that traditionally has been Republican if you go back like 30 years, but through demographic changes and organizing, it's becoming more Democrat?
That is correct. So at least for the last 8 years, Jennifer Bertino Tarrant, who's a Democrat, has represented the area, and it's becoming increasingly Democratic. So if you look kind of year by year, the spread between the Democrats and Republicans is it's growing.
Mm-hmm. All right, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So I live in Bolingbrook, so I'm on the northern end of the district. But one of the things that I like to tell people about is kind of my background and growing up, and it helps shape and help people understand why I do the things I do and why I care about the things I do. So I was actually born to two teenage parents. So as you could imagine, my parents weren't exactly well established in their careers when I was born. And, growing up and raising a child at such a young age, there are a lot of struggles for them, right? And, we relied on a lot of help from a lot of people to get by, especially early on in my life. But I also, through my parents, saw a lot of kind of grit and hard work and kind of determination just to do better for themselves and their family. And I saw just everything that really goes into just doing better for yourself and how hard it can be to get by if you're not born with certain advantages. And so ultimately what was great is that I got to see, my parents just kind of persevere and get through a lot of challenges. My mother, got to go to, she graduated from college. After I was born, she went eventually to law school, and she dedicated her life to public service and working for the state throughout her career. And now she's up to the point where she's an administrative law judge, right? And that's no small feat for somebody who was born, who had a child as a teenager. And my father, he did not get to go to college because he had to work full time and, at times twice for 2 jobs. But now at this point in his career, he's one of the top performing individuals in his industry. And it's just because of the hard work and the determination, but also because a lot of people, gave them support throughout my life to be able to allow them to focus on things like whether it's their education or work and supporting the family. And so I've always thought, what can I do with my skill set to help people? And so, that mentality of like hard work is what ultimately led me to going to Northwestern and getting a degree in economics. I later went back and got an MBA in finance. And I've always thought, how can I use that skill set to help people? What can I do to better my community? So I've always used that skill set, helping different organizations, whether it be unions and the Chicago Federation of Labor, pension funds, municipalities. I've worked with nonprofits and foundations, all just trying to solve difficult kind of fiscal problems that they're having, economic problems. Because I realized that, most of us are kind of limited in income, and a lot of us, we got to make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck and help as many people as we can with the dollars that we have. And so that's why I dedicated my career within the financial services doing exactly that, trying to find ways to improve communities with that skill set. But then the other side of why I'm running it and kind of why I, am interested in all of these sorts of things is that, I've seen, you talk about the demographic kind of changes in the 49th district, and I've seen, it's becoming increasingly diverse, right? And increasingly, not just racial diversity, but also economic diversity, right, within the district. So we have people from, well-off-to-do individuals, but then we also have lower income people in parts of the district. And, we have pretty much all races represented in the district, and it's getting increasingly diverse. And what I've kind of noticed throughout my life, and one of the things that I'd be happy to talk about shortly, is that not always feeling like, that our representatives, our senators, always have that kind of full perspective and understanding all portions of their population, right? And so, far too often we think about, for example, parties generally have problems, getting people of color always out to vote, right? I'm Latino, and I understand exactly why. And then not always feeling represented and not always feeling like they care always about the issues, or if they say they care about our issues, they don't always come to us for the solutions as well, right? They kind of speak to us and at us, but not with us. And so that's one of the reasons that I want to run as well. It's just that making sure that everybody across the district feels well represented, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of their socioeconomic status, right? Because I want to make sure that they get involved in the electoral process themselves. I want them to feel like their voice can be heard and that their votes ultimately matter, right? I haven't always felt like that. I don't have an extensive voting history. People will knock me on it, and I'm open about it because of the fact that I haven't always felt like, my voice mattered, because I haven't always felt like, our elected officials always cared about the things that the people that I care about, are dealing with. And so one of the things that's been really exciting for me throughout this campaign is going to events and telling people about my history and why I'm involved now, and the issues that I understand and care about, and talking to them and with them, not just at them. And, they approach me after events. They say, Michael, for the first time, I feel like a politician understands me. For the first time, I'm going to vote in a primary because they actually get it. You're inspiring me to get more involved in this process and helping me to understand why I need to get involved in the process. And that's what I'm trying to do with my experience and helping people to better understand why they need to get out there and vote and how powerful it can really be.
All right, let's break down. There's a lot to work with here.
Absolutely.
All right, let's first of all talk about, I've got like 3 different things I want to talk about.
There we go.
Let's start with the voting history.
Yes.
So there's been elections that you have not participated in. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so shame on you for not doing that.
I realize the mistake, and I've talked about that exact mistake when I go out there and not always appreciating the power that you can have and looking at it the wrong way. And people tell me, that's the same mindset I had. But when I explain why they need to get more involved and how we can fix it, that's when the wheels start turning in their heads as well. And that's why so many people have registered in this process, because they finally understand it as well.
Was there an election or a particular candidate that really inspired you to get involved in the process?
Yeah, so for me, I've supported candidates in the past, not always within just my district, but just kind of throughout the Chicagoland area as well. When I feel like there's somebody who understands kind of the needs of our community, I'll go out there and I'll advocate for them, whether it's, telling everybody I know within Cook County to vote for a certain Cook County candidate, or knowing everybody who's in a certain district to try and push them towards that candidate. But I think one of the things that it probably has inspired a lot of people to getting, more involved and finding ways to get involved was the 2016 election, right? And seeing the election of Donald Trump and kind of the rhetoric that he's used and the divisiveness that he's caused kind of in this country. And, he's not the only one that's caused it. It's been a lot of people who have been making that happen. But he's kind of added, fuel to the fire. And when I've seen, whether it's on Facebook or kind of in the street or at community events, kind of that divisiveness and people desperately looking for, somebody that can actually come up with solutions to their problems. I understand to an extent why some people supported them. They're desperate and you want to find somebody who can help you get out of, certain situations, because politicians, like I said, haven't always understood, all aspects of communities. And so just that election in itself has been one of the areas that, I've thought about and why I want to get more involved and why I want to get more people involved, period. Mm-hmm. And I think it starts, kind of within my district, and hoping to, use that as a case and a model for other people to understand and, not use just here in Illinois, but in districts across the country as well.
You did vote in that election?
In 2016, I did.
Yes, okay. Yes. That would have been like, you didn't vote in 2016? It's a little hard for me, I got to say this. And I'm not saying I'm better than you or anything. I've always been a political junkie. Mm-hmm. Going back to when I was like 12, I was utterly obsessive in many ways. I'm not using it as my therapist here, Michael, but I was obsessed with sports and politics then as now. So like when I hear somebody didn't vote, I'm like, what? You didn't vote? When I turned 18, that was my first election. I was like, went out and voted for Jimmy Carter. So yeah, that's how old I am.
And then that's exactly, I get what you're saying. And, I belong to two groups that we've historically have struggled to get out to vote, right? Young people, I just turned 30 recently, and Latinos. So, those are two communities that we haven't always been great about engaging. And, if you look at the number of elections I've kind of participated in since ultimately registering to vote, it's about the national average. But I want to do better for myself. I involve as many young people as I can in this process. Like, just give you an example. Yesterday I went to a middle school just to explain to kids exactly how important it is for them to vote, and explaining how I looked at it the wrong way when I was younger, and why you need to get involved, and kind of being proactive about it, but also involving high schoolers and young college students in this process. I've had roundtables with high school students, making sure that they feel involved and that their voice is heard, so that ultimately they go out there and vote for candidates that they care about. Because I understand now, as I've matured and gotten older, how important it is for you to use your voice and ultimately get out there and vote.
All right, fair enough. Let's go talk about the financial services. Exactly what does that mean?
Yeah, so I've worked, the bulk of my career was within investment banking and real estate. So I helped kind of municipalities across the country with, things like bond issuances and stuff like that. But we were based here in Chicago, and one of the things that I loved about the firm, and the reason that I loved working at that firm, was that they're very kind of community focused and always trying to find ways, how can we use the things that we have to benefit communities? And so as a result of that, we got to work with, foundations, evaluating their grant programs and making sure that they're getting the biggest bang for their buck, working with nonprofit hospitals, trying to make sure that they can economically deliver, the highest level of healthcare possible, for underserved communities in an economical way for themselves. Because, the state's not always going to be able to come in with the funding, unfortunately. Sometimes whether it's through a recession or, grants dry up, they need to be able to stand on their 2 feet, and we were helping them find models to be able to do exactly that.
So the question I have when you say that is, and I'm dealing with stereotypes here, my stereotype would be a person in financial services would be a Republican. Why aren't you a Republican?
Because I care about people. I think that's at the end of the day. As somebody who has, been the beneficiary of so much support, whether it's from family, friends, community programs, after school programs, all these different things, I see the value that all these kind of social programs have. And Democrats are the champions of these programs. And that's why I'm a Democrat. I care about people, and I care about all these different community programs and understanding what it takes, for families to be able to rise and thrive and to get past their circumstances. And the Democratic Party is the best party for, making sure that people can rise up and thrive and grow in their lives.
The incumbent in this district, who's leaving now, she wants to run for Will County executive.
That's correct.
It has been a little weak, to put it mildly, on the issue of women's right to choose. What's your position on that?
I fully support every woman's right to choose. I've been endorsed by the National Organization of Women for exactly that reason. I'm the father to a daughter, and I never want her to kind of grow up in any sort of world where she's restricted from being able to do anything in her life because of her gender, right? So whether it's, making sure that she has, equal pay for equal work, making sure that she's safe from kind of harassment, or making sure that, when she has difficult decisions to make and regarding pregnancies, that she has every option available to her, right? And in a safe way of exercising all of those rights. So I am fully supportive of every woman's right to choose.
Right. And something that's in the front page right now, just looking at the front page of the New York Times, market spiral as globe shudders over virus. Haven't talked about the impact of the coronavirus on the markets. You're in the financial service industry. What can government do to sort of help people at very uncertain times?
Yeah, well, I think it actually takes, showing up and showing leadership on an issue and not shying away from an issue. I think what we've seen in kind of DC is too often people are downplaying it. And, when you have kind of conflicting news, it's going to cause a lot of panic. When you have one group saying, this isn't a big deal, and one people saying this could be the biggest epidemic we've faced in centuries, it causes a lot of uncertainty, and markets don't like uncertainty. So I think if we had, our government really being a lot more proactive and funding things in the right way and making sure that they're not downplaying any situation, downplaying it can scare a lot of people in itself when people are when people are getting that other news that it's real serious and they're wondering, why is this conflict? What are they trying to hide from us? You got to be a lot more transparent about an issue. You got to be a lot more clear on an issue, and just making sure you're being proactive about these things and addressing these issues in a meaningful way will go a long way towards, establishing confidence in the population and then ultimately in the markets.
Michael Crowner is my guest. He's running for state senator in the 49th district. We're going to take a break and be right back.
How did you go from sharing stories over the years to deciding to write a book?
Good question, Mayor. Good question.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
It's Chicagoland's adult entertainment playground. It's the world-famous Admiral Theater, 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. The Admiral is homegrown from Chicago, and it's the most conveniently located club in all of the city. 15 minutes from the O'Hare Airport in downtown Chicago Loop. Voted Chicago's best strip club, the Admiral has showgirls galore and a variety of adult entertainment shows. The world-famous Admiral Theater, open every day from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. For events, showtime, and other information, visit AdmiralX.com. Must be 18 years of age or older to enter.
Eroding beaches on Chicago's lakefront, warmer winters in the upper Midwest, microplastics in our water. What can any one person do? Our best hope for saving the planet and ourselves is through the power of we. Get to the 9th annual One Earth Film Festival, the Midwest's premier environmental film festival. It's March 6th through the 15th. March 6th through the 15th.
When?
March 6th through the 15th. I was waiting for you to say
The
that.
14th?
No. Pay attention. Take a piece of paper out and a pencil and write it down. March 6th through the 15th. Okay?
15th.
And there's 26 films, 48 events, and 4 counties. What is that again, D?
26
films,
48
events,
4
counties. You can engage with filmmakers and experts. Venues include Tesla Gold Coast, Loyola University, Plant Chicago, Old St. Patrick's Church, Chicago Cultural Center, Lake Theater in Oak Park, and much more. Go to oneearthfilmfest.org. What is that, D?
oneearthfilmfest.org.
One more time.
oneearthfilmfest.org.
God, are you good?
That's correct.
Hey, commercial break over. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times. Mr. Joravsky, take us home.
Michael Crowner in the studio. He's running for state senate of 49th district out in the burbs. We've been talking about all the issues facing him as a candidate. And then in the break, he dropped a bombshell on me in my little world. Okay, Michael's dad, we'll talk. I should let Michael do this. But many, many years ago, I spent a lot of time with my dear friend Manny Weincord, coach of the Roosevelt Rough Riders basketball team at Roosevelt High School on the northwest side of Chicago, at Wilson and Kimball. And I've written quite a bit about Manny and the Rough Riders in my time with Roosevelt. I was with them. I started with them in the 91-92 season. So that's already how many years ago? 28 years ago. Good God, time has fly. So I don't, Dennis won't allow me to talk about sports in this show. People don't know I'm an utterly sports obsessive guy. And remember I told you, Michael, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with sports and politics equally, and pizza as a third. Throw that in there.
He loves pizza, guys.
I love pizza. So I never think that anybody would know about the time I spent with Roosevelt, the volumes that I've written about that experience. Michael dropped a bombshell on me at the break. Why don't you tell folks what you told me at the break?
Yeah, my father actually played basketball at Roosevelt High School in the 89-90 season.
Man, when he told me that, I almost passed out. Because, this is, Murray's laughing. Murray was the one who brought Michael, Murray Briel from Heartland Mamas, along with Heidi Henry, on the show every month. Anyway, Murray brought Michael to my attention, and Heartland Mamas, we always talk about it being in the boonies, and like far removed from my little world, which is basically, my house, which is not far from Roosevelt, the studio, which is in the Loop, and a few places in between. So you drop in and go, oh, yeah, my dad was at Roosevelt. I'm like, what the heck are you doing out in the boonies if your dad's from Roosevelt?
Yeah, my dad actually was I believe, if I recall correctly, the year before he got there, they weren't so great. They had a losing record, and when he got there, and I'm not saying he's the reason for it, because he tells me his stories. Who knows? He could be pumping himself up. But that season was kind of the first year their kind of turnaround at Roosevelt High School. And I believe that 89-90 season was one of the best records they'd had in several years up to that point. And he was a part of that team.
Well, there was a guy named Mo who was a shooter. Your dad.
I know Mo.
Oh, his mind's blown. Get the bong out.
Okay.
Get the bong out. You know Mo?
Yes.
Mo could shoot, man. Yeah. Well, he was a year younger than your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad graduated in 90. Mo graduated in 91. That's when I came on the scene. So your dad would know him like Terrell.
Exactly right. They're friends on Facebook. I asked him about it today to confirm. So,
wow.
Small world.
And Terrell Redmond was a hell of a basketball player. So your dad, the way your dad tells the story is that he was the turnaround. Is that the story?
Yeah, he was part of the turnaround. He was starting point guard on that team. So
we'll go with
it all
that
starts
story.
with the point guard.
So you don't play basketball?
I played growing up. I did, I played in kind of a lot of the men's rec leagues on the south side and stuff like that. And my dad would coach basketball teams. There's kind of like a national Latino basketball kind of circuit in this country. And he would coach teams all throughout the country. And whenever they'd be kind of locally in the Chicago tournaments, I'd play pretty frequently with those teams.
But you didn't play in high school.
I did not. I actually didn't get into basketball probably until about my junior year. I was always a baseball guy growing up, which probably broke my dad's heart when I was younger.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I got pretty good and started playing in those men's rec leagues, and I loved it. And I played in the kind of intramural leagues in college, and I actually was also team manager for the basketball team at Northwestern. So basketball is in my blood.
You were the team manager for them? I did not. What years were you at Northwestern?
So I graduated in 2012. I was with the basketball team for, I think it was a 2009, 2010 season.
I'm trying to think who was the guard. The guard was from Lincoln Park.
Juice
yes.
Thompson was starting point guard. That was the year John Chernow broke out, kind of most improved player, and yeah, it was a good team.
Chernow was from Glen Ellen, I want to say.
That's
he was
correct.
A shooter.
Yeah.
And Juice Thompson was from Lincoln Park High School.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, the stuff I know, huh? And Northwestern is terrible. I hate to...
it's breaking my heart.
Yeah, your alma mater was terrible this year. Come on, Collins.
There's hope. There's hope for the future.
All right, there's hope for the future. All right, before we let you get out of the studio, tell folks how they can get in touch with you, all that good stuff, Michael.
Absolutely. So you can look us up on Facebook at facebook.com/Michael4Illinois, and that's the word FOR. Our website's also Michael4Illinois.com. And that's pretty much the best ways to get a hold of us. I answer all emails directly, so if you have any questions, you drop the notes on our Facebook or on our website. You're going to be getting directly to me, and I'm happy to chat with any voters.
All right, Marie, anything you want to say before I let you out the door?
I just want to say that the Heartland Mamas, thank you, well, half of us, thanks so much for having us in and getting to know Michael. I am 100% behind this guy because he's the real deal.
All right, Heartland Mamas is a podcast. Heidi Henry.
I should say that. Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com. Heidi does the MAMAS.
I know.
Oh, man.
Well, Heidi's not here. You got to pick up your game.
You're right.
What's the latest Heartland Mamas all about?
Ooh, we just did Ousting 8, and we nailed Mitch McConnell. And then we are hitting on another episode of Women in the World and the Status. It's particularly tying in with the coronavirus and how this will disproportionately affect women and children all across the world. So,
well, I'm going to get on my high horse here about the coronavirus. If the coronavirus doesn't get people to realize how much we need a Medicare for all plan in this country,
absolutely,
I don't think anything will work. All of a sudden, Donald John Trump is finding his inner Bernie, talking about, that, I'm going to make sure that people get access to, well, first we'll see if he comes through with his promises to get access to health care. But, folks, it's like you could get sick anytime. This could happen to somebody anytime.
And no one cared until the market started to be affected. And no one paid attention, media-wise, until Italy got it. Why? Because we think of diseases that emerge from being third world countries. We don't look at those cultures as being equal to our own. So all of a sudden, Italy got it, and everybody freaked out because it meant it was possible for us.
Well, when you say nobody, I mean, there were people that cared.
Okay,
all right.
I'm sorry.
Point
You're
well
right.
taken.
You're very
Donald
right.
Trump didn't think it was an issue worth talking about, and until the markets started tanking, and then he got very nervous. But like I said, I know you're staying neutral in the presidential race. Every candidate that comes in here is like, I want Biden people to vote for me. I want Bernie people to vote for me. I'm not getting involved. But Bernie was way ahead of the game on health. Just saying that. I know it's not popular these days, D.
Funny, we have never have anyone come in here and say, I don't want these Bloomberg people getting mad at me. We never had that.
Nobody has ever said
it never happened.
I don't think there's any Bloomberg. Oh, wait, Heidi was courted by the Bloomberg.
Yes, she was.
Yes.
She was courted by the Bloomberg team.
She was indeed. That was fun when she was telling that story. All right, very good, Murray. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Check out the Heartland Mamas podcast, everybody.
Heartland Mamas, Michael Crowner, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Say hi to your dad. Dad, working that jump shot. All right, Dad? Good. I'm going to ask Manny to see if you were the star point guard. No, I'm sure you were. And let's see, who else? Lakeisha Collins. She did a great job. Jackie Algie did an awesome job. And it all began with Maya. Maya got a parking ticket, D. She texted me.
Oh, hell.
I know, man.
That's bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Gotta clean up that language.
And we come full circle.
Yeah, we do come full circle. All right, Miles Porter did an outstanding job as all, the pride and joy of Evanston High School. And, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois. He's working that boards like the maestro that he is. And as Michael Crowner will tell you, back home in Alton, they call him White Lightning. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
And remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows and Benny J bonus interviews at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. If you've yet to, go check out our interview with Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. Ben did a fantastic job. Kim Fox was very candid. Go check the interview out, weigh in with your thoughts, and find us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J, Show. Hey, if you're in a band or you know anybody who wants to get their music out, send it our way. Don't sue us. At Benny J Show at gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to play your music and plug whatever you want us to plug. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
That's correct.